The St. Catherine's Sacred Heart Church in Kolkata is not only a place of worship, but also a dormitory for young nuns, girls who have renounced all worldly luxuries to serve God. After a few years of training, the nuns are sent to churches affiliated with the Sacred Heart Society. On the last Friday night of March, the prayer session took place in a solemn atmosphere. Mother Superior Agatha introduced a 23-year-old girl to the other nuns. This is God's special child, Helena. She will dedicate her life to God. From now on, Helena will live with us. But Helena's face was cold and deeply sad. She did not make eye contact with anyone, and when she looked at people, she showed no emotion. As soon as Mother Agatha finished her introduction, Helena quietly went back to her room. It seemed that she was not used to this environment. A heavy atmosphere surrounded her, making the other nuns feel strange from the first moment. The next morning, as the prayer began, the young nun Rena noticed Helena standing silently behind, muttering something in a strange voice, sometimes like a man, sometimes like a child. Rena shivered, trying to listen but couldn't understand. Helena avoided all eyes, as if hiding something inside her. That night, when the other nuns slept, Rena peeked through Helena's window. The sight gave her goosebumps. Helena sitting on a chair, her body twisted, her limbs knotted, her neck tilted to one side like a living doll. Suddenly, Helena turned her neck towards Rena. Her eyes were deep black. Her hair was tangled. Her teeth were black as if burned. Rena screamed, alerting Mother Agatha and the other nuns. What happened? Mother Agatha ran over in a panic. Rena pointed towards Helena's room. Mother Agatha looked through the window and was also shocked. Mother Agatha held the cross in her hand and walked towards Helena. Helena jumped off the chair and landed on the ground and started growling at Mother Agatha like a wild animal and stared at her. Suddenly, the cross slipped from her hand and fell. Immediately after, Helena's eyes turned black. Helena's fingers snapped back with a cracking sound, and Helena, like a beast, jumped on Mother Agatha and chewed the flesh on her hand. Helena stood there like a demon, clutching the flesh in her mouth, and Mother Agatha writhed in pain. After the attack, Helena turned back and sat on the chair and started muttering something in a strange voice. The sound coming from Helena's mouth was as if 2 or 3 people were talking at the same time. Hearing the cry for help, Father Dominic, who lived in the church, also came and saw Mother Agatha's condition and took her out. Everyone was shocked to see Helena in such a state. An atmosphere of fear also spread to the other girls. Father Dominic, the priest of the church, realized that this was not a normal thing. The other nuns were advised to stay away from Helena's room. He sprinkled holy water around her body, but blisters appeared on her skin every time the holy water touched her, looking like acid burns. After a while, Helena woke up and looked much weaker than before, moaning in pain. She barely had enough strength in her body to sit up. Her face was completely withered. Her body seemed to have collapsed. Seeing Helena's condition, Mother Agatha laid her down on the bed in the room. "Oh my God, she looks so bad. Let her rest here. The holy water will heal her." The next 2 days passed in absolute silence. Helena lay in bed, not eating or drinking anything, not speaking at all. After 2 days, she asked for water in broken words. At her mother's insistence, Helena was given water. Helena now looked a little more normal. It seemed that whatever evil spirit had really left her was now gone. Seeing Helena in such a state, Mother Agatha gently stroked her head. Do you want something to eat? Helena nodded in agreement, and then, after many days, Helena ate her fill. She kept eating, as if she had been hungry for countless years. As time passed, Helena's eating speed and eating style changed. Helena's entire mouth was numb from eating. After eating, Helena began to look a little different. Once again, her eyes began to change, and she began to mumble in a strange language. She said, speaking in different languages. Whatever she was doing at the moment was beyond her control. Before anyone could do anything, Helena had returned to normal. It was as if she had no idea what had just happened. Helena's behavior was becoming more and more bizarre with each passing hour. Mother Agatha and Father Dominic realized that they had exceeded their ability to deal with Helena. Helena would have to stay here until Friday, after which only Father Edmund could do anything. After a few days, Helena became extremely violent, screaming and making many voices at the same time. 3 days later, on Friday, Father Edmund arrived, and late at night, after everyone had gone to bed, the exorcism began. The deliverance began. Helena was tied to a chair. Crosses and burning candles were placed around her, and she was sprinkled with holy water, and then Father Edmund began to chant the incantation. Helena's pupils darkened again. A devilish smile appeared on her face. Helena was speaking many languages at the same time. Sometimes a child's voice could be heard from her mouth, and sometimes a thunderous man's voice could be heard. As Father Edmund continued to chant the incantation, Helena seemed to be in a rage. Suddenly, Helena screamed loudly, and at the same time, all the candles around her went out simultaneously. And then Father Edmund saw the ground between the cross and Helena crack. Helena screamed in horror. Her screams became so loud that no one could bear it. Suddenly, Helena's body began to stiffen violently, and at the same time, Mother Agatha's eyes also turned pitch black. "Come on, leave me alone. I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything," Mother Agatha said in a scary voice. A year ago, Helena had experienced a tragic event. She was the victim of a family murder during an ancient ghost-worshipping ritual. At that time, an evil spirit and demon summoned from the ritual possessed Helena, causing her to be haunted since she was young. Helena was lucky to survive, but the demon spirit still followed her, making her always feel like someone was watching and emitting strange mumblings. Hearing this truth, everyone understood that guilt and despair were the reasons why the demons possessed Helena, and that she did not naturally become ferocious. Father Edmund continued the ritual, sprinkling holy water continuously, chanting the incantation. Helena screamed violently, her body stiffened, her eyes turned black, and a ghostly smile appeared. Every time the holy water touched her, blisters appeared, but the power of the incantation gradually suppressed the demonic force. Finally, Helena fell down, exhausted but still alive. Helena was taken to the hospital to recover. Her face and body were withered, but her soul was saved. Father Edmund said that this was the most important exorcism in the dormitory, and everyone who witnessed this event shuddered to remember it forever. St. Catherine's Church closed for a while to return to peace, but the memory of Helena and the demonic force that possessed her still haunted the nuns and priests, causing them to lose sleep every night. Helena continued to be closely monitored, and her story became a living horror legend in St. Catherine's dormitory.
A small town lies under a moonless night, fog curling through empty streets. James, a young man, steps out of a diner, his breath visible in the cold air. A distant church bell tolls, its sound warped and eerie. echoing unnaturally. James walks down a dark alley, streetlights flickering, casting long shadows. A pale, bony hand darts out from the shadows, then vanishes instantly. Heavy footsteps echo behind him, growing louder, closer with every step. James turns, freezing. A cloaked figure stands under a streetlight, head bowed. The figure's hood shifts slightly, revealing a glimpse of pale skin. The nun raises her head, her face bone white, eyes black void staring blankly. James screams, sprinting away, the nun gliding after him, unnaturally fast. He reaches an abandoned church, its wooden doors slamming shut behind him. Inside, moonlight spills through broken windows, illuminating dusty pews. Whispers fill the air, like dozens of voices praying, but no one is there. A crucifix on the altar flips upside down, blood dripping from its edges. James stumbles back, tripping over an old Bible, its pages fluttering wildly. The Bible's pages stop, revealing a drawing of the nun's twisted face. The nun appears inches from James, her cracked mouth hissing a guttural sound. James bolts up a creaking wooden staircase, each step threatening to collapse. He bursts into a small room, walls covered in paintings of the nun's warped face. One painting crashes to the floor, revealing a hidden door behind the wall. James opens the door, stepping into a dark hallway lined with strange symbols. His flashlight flickers, casting jagged shadows on the carved walls. The nun appears at the hall's end, her head tilted at an impossible angle. James runs, but the hallway stretches endlessly, walls closing in around him. The nun's raspy laugh echoes, coming from every direction at once. James TR away, illuminating the nun's scarred feet. The flashlight spins, briefly showing her claws scraping the floor. He crawls to a corner, spotting an old mirror reflecting the nun behind him. James smashes the mirror, shards flying, but her laugh grows louder. He finds a staircase leading to a basement, no other way out. In the basement, faint light reveals cages filled with human bones. A cage door creaks open, its hinges screaming in the silence. The nun slithers out from the cage, her body twisting in unnatural ways. He reaches an old altar, a wooden box engraved with a cross on top. The nun's claws scrape closer, leaving gouges in the stone floor. James opens the box, finding a vial of holy water glowing faintly. He splashes the water at the nun, her scream shaking the walls as she burns. The nun dissolves into black smoke, the basement trembling violently. James sprints out as the church collapses, debris exploding behind him. He stands in the nearby graveyard, panting, believing he's safe. A pale hand bursts from the dirt, grabbing his ankle with crushing force. James screams, kicking free, stumbling back into the fog. The graveyard grows quiet, fog swallowing the church ruins. His flashlight flickers out, plunging him into total darkness. A faint whisper begins, the nun's voice chanting his name softly. A single candle flickers nearby, casting her shadow on a tombstone. The nun's face looms over him, her black eyes wide, unblinking. James runs blindly, branches snapping as he crashes through the woods. The nun glides after him, her cloak billowing like a living shadow. He trips over a root, landing face first in the dirt, gasping for air. The nun's hand reaches down, her claws inches from his face. A sudden gust of wind blows dust, obscuring her for a moment. James scrambles up, spotting a rusted gate leading out of the woods. He pushes through the gate, collapsing on the other side, exhausted. The town lies silent, no lights, no sound, as if abandoned entirely. James' hand shakes as he pulls out his phone. The screen cracked and dead. He hears a creak and turns. A door in a nearby house swings open slowly. The door's hinges groan, revealing only darkness inside. The nun's silhouette fills the doorway, her head twitching unnaturally. James bolts again, his footsteps echoing in the empty streets. The nun appears at every corner, her form flickering like a broken film. He ducks into an alley, pressing himself against a brick wall, breathless. The nun's shadow stretches across the wall, growing larger, closer. A rat scurries past, startling him, breaking the silence. Her claws graze his shoulder, leaving a burning scratch. James finds a storm drain, crawling inside, barely fitting through. The nun peers into the drain, her face distorted, mouth stretching wide. Inside, James crawls faster, water splashing, his heart pounding. He emerges in a ditch, the town now far behind, fog still thick. The nun's laugh echoes, closer than before. Her black eyes appear in the fog, staring directly at him. The screen glitches, her face flashing closer with each flicker. Darkness swallows everything, leaving only James' scream, then silence.
Within the convent's stone walls, the sisters lived in harmony, bound by a rhythm as old as the bells that tolled each day. They ate together, worked side by side, and shared their slumber in a great communal chamber. Always in pairs, they moved as though no step was meant to be taken alone. Privacy was a rarity, glimpsed only when each attended to the most modest necessities behind a closed door. Even then, no one was far away. Only one man resided with them, Father Urban, the priest who kept his solitary quarters within the church. His chamber was forbidden ground to the sisters, a place they dared not tread. For many years, their lives were ordered, faithful and serene, until the night when everything changed. One evening, as though governed by some unseen command, every nun awoke from the same vision. It was no ordinary dream, but a nightmare steeped in dread. The stone walls turned icy, flames were extinguished, and in the shadows stood a figure, draped in cloth, faceless yet grotesque. A younger sister named it the Cloth Man. The others resisted such naming, fearing to grant the apparition any further power. They prayed it would pass, but it did not. Night after night, the figure returned, plaguing one sister at a time. Bruises appeared on their bodies by dawn, though no struggle had been heard. Eventually, none were spared. By day, the convent grew uneasy. Echoes rolled through the halls, sounds without origin or end. Faith alone began to waver under the weight of the inexplicable. At last, the sisters went to Father Urban, confessing their torment. His counsel was simple: pray harder, pray longer. But prayer gave no relief. The shadows only deepened, and the sense of being hunted within their own sanctuary grew unbearable. Still, no cause could be named. No death had disturbed them, no quarrel had soured their bonds. The evil was rootless, born from nothing. Then came the night that stripped away all doubt. One sister awoke to find the others hovering above their beds, suspended as though by invisible strings. Terror gripped her as a voice rang out, unearthly and accusing. If you say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves. In that moment, the truth clawed its way into the open. Father Urban, the one they had trusted to shepherd them, was the very source of their torment. In secret, he had abandoned his vows, practicing witchcraft within the very church he was meant to guard. The sisters reported him at once. Judgment was swift. The men of the village dragged him from his chamber and consigned him to the flames. Yet even as his body burned, the darkness he summoned did not perish. It seeped into the world beyond the convent walls, afflicting those who had carried out his execution. To this day, whispers tell that the spirit Father Urban called forth still lingers. What began within a convent now festers among the villagers, who claim to hear the same echoes, feel the same invisible hand upon their flesh. The sisters pray unceasingly for deliverance, though peace seems far away. This tale mirrors the infamous possessions of Laudun in 1634, when an entire convent in France fell prey to visions, convulsions, and horrors unexplained. A priest, Urbain Grandier, was accused of summoning demons and was burned at the stake. Reports from the time speak of ghostly apparitions, black orbs drifting through sacred halls, and nuns who bent backward until their hands touched their heels, shrieking, laughing, and uttering blasphemy. Tourists came from far and wide to witness the public exorcisms. Names of demons were spoken, and the case entered history as one of France's most notorious witchcraft trials, echoing the terrors that swept across Europe in that age of shadows. It began in quiet simplicity. A small monastery stood under the patronage of the local bishop, who had ordained a young priest to guide its residents. The monastery was no grand abbey, but a humble dwelling, home to 4 nuns and their priest. For years, nothing of note disturbed their rhythm. Prayers rose, meals were shared, and silence cloaked their stone halls. But all of that changed with the arrival of a new sister. Her name was Marie. At first, she was a blessing, young, warm-hearted, and eager to join the order. The nuns embraced her quickly, and her presence was a welcome spark in a place where days bled into each other without change. Yet within weeks, something unsettling stirred. Marie's behavior grew erratic. She disrupted Mass with laughter, giggling at nothing in particular. What began as immaturity soon darkened into something else. Her speech withered into flat, one-word replies. She no longer worked beside her sisters, nor opened her books for study. Instead, she whispered to herself in tones low and venomous, muttering words no one could quite decipher. One night, a nun found her pressed into the corner of a room, her face hidden, her shoulders quaking with sharp, unnatural breaths. She called out gently, then urgently, but she would not respond. When Marie turned around, his expression was so wild and fierce that he charged at her without warning. The other nuns nearby quickly ran over to stop and pull Marie out. Together, they restrained Marie and locked her in her chamber until they could decide what must be done. That night, the monastery's silence shattered. Voices echoed through the halls. "Who's there? Marie, what on earth? Get me out of here. Grab her, quickly." The sisters cried for help, calling for their priest. Marie's body convulsed, her voice at times her own, at other times something guttural and inhuman. At last, the words were spoken aloud. "An exorcism must be done." The priest faltered. He had never performed such a rite, had believed such things belonged to medieval myth. Yet faced with the horror before them, there was no other choice. They bound Marie to the priest's bed and began with scripture, but the readings alone proved powerless. Her true self flickered in and out, pleading, begging for help, before the voice of the intruder overtook her once more. Desperate, they carried her to the altar. There, beneath the looming crucifix, they chained her to the cross itself. Holy oil was poured upon her. Scripture was read without pause. For 3 days, the monastery closed its doors, the sisters and priest devoting themselves entirely to the battle for Marie's soul. Wara. Her body was kept alive with water. Her screams echoed through the sanctuary. Some nights, it seemed the demon had triumphed, her body thrashing beyond human strength. Other times, her own voice returned, crying for salvation. Finally, on the 3rd day, she fell silent. Exhausted, the priest and nuns believed the ordeal finished. They summoned an ambulance to bring Mari to a hospital, fearful for her health after so much torment. But in the care of the doctors, Mari died. What followed was no longer a spiritual trial, but a worldly one. The priest and the 4 nuns were condemned for their actions, accused of cruelty and negligence. The law did not accept the explanation of possession. Each was sentenced to prison. And yet, Mari's family and many who had known her believed otherwise. They maintained that what happened was no madness, no simple illness, but something darker, a true possession. The story of Mari mirrors the infamous Târnăcu exorcism of 2005 in Romania. In that case, a nun named Marisica Irina Cornici was subjected to an exorcism led by Father Daniel Petru Corogianu and 4 Orthodox nuns. Accused of mistreating her, they were imprisoned following her death. The coroner claimed she died of an adrenaline overdose administered in the ambulance. But within the village and among her family, the belief persisted. She had been overtaken by a demonic force, and those who stood trial were not her tormentors, but the only ones who truly tried to save her. This is not a tale of good prevailing over evil. It is the story of how blurred that line can be, how faith can turn to desperation, how belief can clash with law, and how some truths are left forever in the shadows, unresolved. My daughter Clara was always unlike the other children her age. She was quiet, withdrawn, and had little interest in making friends. Whenever she brought someone home, they rarely returned a second time. Before long, Clara stopped being invited to anyone else's house altogether. She didn't care for television, the radio, or the pastimes that kept other kids busy. Books were the only thing she wanted. I regret to say I was too preoccupied to notice what she was actually reading. If only I had. When she entered her teenage years, Clara changed even more. She seemed detached from everything around her, uninterested in the world. And where she once devoured book after book, now she clung to just one, an old leather-bound Bible. At the time, I considered it a blessing. While my friends fretted about their daughters running wild or falling into trouble, I felt proud that mine was quiet, obedient, and devout. I believed those were the good days, before everything unraveled. It began one night when I couldn't sleep. As I rolled over, I noticed Clara in the doorway of my room. The lights were off, but I could clearly see her silhouette. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there. I called her name softly, then louder, but she gave no sign of hearing me. Uneasy, I got out of bed, switched on the light, and told her it was late and she needed to return to her room. Convinced she had been sleepwalking, I thought little of it. But it didn't stop. Night after night, I would open my eyes to find her there again, staring silently from the doorway. Not once did I see her approach. It was as if she simply appeared. At first, I roused myself each time to guide her back to bed. But after a week, I stopped. It unnerved me, yes, but I was tired and let her remain. I told myself it was harmless, though deep down, I knew it was anything but. Then came the night when everything shifted. I remember tossing in my sleep, trying to find comfort. I assumed Clara was in the doorway as usual, but when I sat up, the space was empty, only the door hung wide open. A chill crept over me as I walked the dark hallway to her room. What I found froze me in place. Clara was suspended in the air, 4 feet above her bed. A moment later, she drifted upward until she pressed against the ceiling, crawling across it as though gravity itself had turned against her. I ran. I dialed the church in desperation, calling until the priest finally answered. He insisted I bring Clara at once. By the time I reached her, she had fallen from the ceiling. But now she was vacant, an empty shell. She would not respond, not even when shaken. I carried her into the car, drove her to the church, and placed her in their care. The priests sprinkled holy water, and for a fleeting moment, Clara stirred. They placed her in the confessional, hoping to reach her. What she admitted there made my blood run cold. She confessed she had been practicing rituals, dark invocations drawn from the very book I thought was a Bible. Its cover had been a disguise. Inside, the words belonged not to God, but to Satan. Moments later, she slipped back into that lifeless state, and the priest confirmed what I dreaded most. My daughter was possessed. The exorcism began immediately. What followed was the most harrowing ordeal of my life. Clara thrashed and screamed with inhuman strength, her voice shifting between her own and something guttural, mocking. "The power of Christ compels you. Release this innocent soul," cried the priest. "I'll crush your throat and split your skull," the demon answered through her lips. "Clara, stop," I screamed. "Your daughter is already burning in hell," the voice hissed. The struggle raged for hours. Chairs splintered. Holy men were thrown to the ground, yet they persisted. At last, the demon relented, driven out by sheer force of prayer and will. Clara fell limp, free at last. The aftermath. But victory came at too great a price. Clara's body was ruined from the torment. Her heart, weakened by what she endured, could not hold out. Not long after her deliverance, she died. Every day since, I've carried the same guilt, that I did not pay attention sooner, that I did not take the strange book from her hands, that I let her stand in my doorway night after night. If only I had acted earlier, perhaps she would still be alive. This tale mirrors the real case of Clara Germana Selle, a young South African girl said to have been possessed in 1906. Accounts tell she spoke languages she had never learned, revealed secrets of strangers, hurled nuns aside with unnatural strength, and levitated several feet into the air. Patty. Witnesses described her screams as animalistic, her hatred of holy objects absolute. 2 priests, Reverend Mansuetti and Reverend Erasmus, performed her exorcism, which lasted for 2 full days. At its end, the demon was expelled and the girl was delivered. Whether history or legend, such stories endure as chilling reminders of how easily darkness can wear a familiar face. A deserted country road winds through dense fog. Tall trees staircase. Both look up. A dark shadow moves across the top landing. It in the room drops dramatically. Their breath becomes visible. Suddenly, the lights from their flashlights flicker. Shadows stretch unnaturally along the walls. A cold, unseen hand brushes Emily's shoulder. She screams. Jason grabs a nearby chair, swinging it wildly, but hits nothing. The room is empty, yet the presence is undeniable. A low, guttural whisper. Jason and Emily are huddled on the floor, clutching each other. The cold in the room is unbearable. Their breaths come in short gasps. Shadows twist unnaturally across the walls. Jason grabs his phone, trying to call for her face in Jason's chest. The room grows darker, as if a shadow is spreading. A low, almost human-like moan echoes from the corridor. I want to leave. The floorboards groan under his weight. Cold wind brushes past him. He shines the candle down the hall. A small, pale hand suddenly reaches out from under the staircase, grabbing at him. Jason stumbles back, screaming. Jason! Emily screaming. The hand disappears as quickly as it appeared. Silence falls. But now, faint whispers are all around them, echoing from the walls and ceiling. My name is Jason Harper. We moved into a mansion in Willow Creek. Some a medium with deep spiritual insight, and Liam, a tech specialist with a knack on the staircase. Dr. Vale carefully approaches a closed door at the end of the hallway. The temperature a pale woman in a tattered dress, her eyes black voids. Long black hair obscures most of her face. She floats a few inches above the floor, moving unnaturally. Madeline Thorne, your Mira had always loved him. Kian's song, the rising star of the K-pop world. His voice was melodic, smooth, and rich. His smile, as if crafted by the gods themselves, lit up every stage he graced. Mira had been a fan since his debut. His every movement, every note he sang, left an indelible mark on her heart. She wasn't just another fan in the crowd. No, she believed she was different. She was special. She was the one who truly understood him. She collected everything Kian had ever touched: albums, posters, concert tickets. Her apartment was a shrine, a curated collection of his career, from his earliest days as a trainee to his present success. But the thing that had caught her most was his gaze. When Kian performed, his eyes would lock with hers, and in that brief moment, it was as if time stopped. She imagined that in those fleeting seconds, he could feel her presence. Maybe not in the way she felt it, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that he noticed her. The fans in the crowd screamed, shouted, waved light sticks. But Kian, when his gaze fell upon her, she was certain that it lingered a moment longer than necessary. It was as if there was something more. She wasn't just part of the crowd. She mattered to him. It was a cold Friday evening when she saw the tweet. Kian's agency had announced that they were holding a small exclusive fan meeting for a select group of fans. To win an invitation, you had to engage in the company's social media contest, a raffle that would select only the most dedicated fans. Mira's heart leaped in her chest. This was her chance, her moment. She stayed up all night, entering every possible form of the contest, tagging Kian's official fan pages, reposting, commenting, and sharing every possible post related to the contest. Sleep-deprived and dizzy, she finally received the notification. She was one of the lucky winners. She would meet Kian. Her hands shook with excitement as she reread the email. The details were vague, just a time, a location in Seoul, and a note about special instructions. It didn't matter. She would meet him, face to face. The day arrived faster than she could prepare for it. Mira spent hours perfecting her outfit, styling her hair, and carefully choosing the gift she would give him, a small, handcrafted music box she had spent weeks designing. She wanted to give him something personal, something that said, "I understand you." The fan meeting was held in a nondescript building, away from the bustling crowds. Mira arrived early, her heart pounding in her chest as she waited for the doors to open. Fans trickled in, all of them talking excitedly. But Mira stayed quiet, her eyes focused on the entrance, waiting for Kian to appear. When he finally stepped into the room, everything else faded away. He was even more beautiful in person. His presence was magnetic, his smile brighter than she had ever imagined. He walked down the aisle between the rows of fans, his eyes scanning the room, stopping briefly as he looked into Mira's eyes. It was brief, a passing moment, but for Mira, it felt like an eternity. The fan meeting was everything Mira had imagined. Kian answered questions, joked with the crowd, and took pictures with fans. Each time he smiled or laughed, Mira felt a part of her heart soften. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for. When it was her turn to meet him, she stepped forward, trembling with anticipation. The distance between them felt like an eternity. As Kian extended his hand, she placed the music box in his palm. He looked at it with a small frown, then up at her with a raised eyebrow. "You made this?" he asked, his voice smooth and warm. Mira nodded, her breath catching. "It's for you," she said softly. I thought you might like it." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Thank you. I'll keep it safe." Her heart raced as he took a photo with her. He stood too close, his hand resting on her shoulder. The photo was taken, but for Mira, time seemed to stand still. For a brief moment, she thought she saw something in his eyes. A flicker. Recognition. As if Kian was seeing her for the first time. It was nothing, she told herself. He was just being kind. But as she left the room, a strange unease began to coil in her stomach. The fan meeting ended, but Mira's obsession with Kian only deepened. That night, she replayed the moments in her mind. His smile, his touch. There was no doubt in her mind now. She was different from the others. He had noticed her. And even though it was brief, he had remembered her. Days passed and Mira found herself obsessively searching for anything related to Kian. Videos, photos, fan interactions. But then one night she found something odd. It was a simple message on his fan page. "Thank you for the beautiful gift. I've been thinking about it all day." It was from Kian. But the message wasn't meant for the public. It was a private post, one directed solely at her. Her fingers shook as she typed a response. "I'm glad you liked it. I made it with you in mind." She hit send, not expecting a reply. But to her surprise, Kian responded almost immediately. "Come to the studio tomorrow night. I'll be waiting." Her heart raced. This couldn't be real. The next day, Mira followed the instructions in the message. She arrived at the studio just as nightfall set in, her breath visible in the cold air. The lights in the building were dim, and there were no signs of anyone else. Mira hesitated for a moment, but then pressed the doorbell. The door opened almost immediately. There, standing in the dim light, was Kian. His eyes were cold, but they lingered on her, unblinking. "You came," he said, voice soft but unmistakably sharp. "Good. Come inside." Mira's heart pounded as she stepped into the darkened hallway of the studio. The air was thick with the scent of incense and old leather. Kian led her down a narrow corridor, past empty rooms filled with sound equipment and recording instruments. "Do you like it here?" he asked, his voice distant, like he was testing her. "I do," Mira said, struggling to steady her voice. "I love your music. I feel connected to you, more than I can explain." He nodded slowly, his gaze never leaving her face. They reached a small, dimly lit room. A large window on one wall overlooked the city below. The entire space was eerily quiet, except for the soft hum of machines in the background. "Sit," Kian said, gesturing to a chair at the center of the room. Mira obeyed, her body trembling. Kian closed the door behind them. "You know, Mira," he began, his voice suddenly colder, more deliberate. "You're not like the other fans. They scream, they shout, they beg for my attention. But you've always been different. You've watched, haven't you? From the shadows, in silence, in silence." Mira's throat tightened. I don't understand." His eyes glinted with something dark. "You gave me the gift, the music box. It's beautiful. But you've been watching me, not just through the camera, but through everything." Mira recoiled, her hands shaking. She had been too careful, too hidden. How did he know? Kian stepped closer, his voice soft but filled with a chilling certainty. You think I didn't notice? That I didn't feel your gaze on me all this time? You've been the one who watches me from the shadows. But now I want to see you, Mira, all of you. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small black device, a camera. Mira's heart stopped. You wanted to be close to me, didn't you? You wanted to know me. But now I'm going to show you something. He pressed a button, and the room's lights flickered. Images appeared on the screen, one after another. Video clips of Mira from her apartment, watching him through the camera. The recordings were crystal clear. Her body froze in horror. He had been watching her. You've been following me for so long, Kian whispered, his voice almost a lullaby. But now you're mine. You belong to me, just like all the others. The room felt suffocating. The images on the screen were of her quiet moments, her obsessive gaze. And then the message became clear. He was not the one being watched. He had always been the watcher. Suddenly, Mira realized with a sickening twist in her stomach that she had become part of his collection, his private world. The door slammed shut behind her. Kian stepped forward, his eyes glinting with malice. You wanted me. You watched me. Now you're here, and you will never leave. Mira's pulse pounded as she backed into the corner of the room. What do you mean? You can't do this to me. Kian smiled darkly. The game's over, Mira. You're not the first one to fall into my trap, but you're the one who watched the longest. He stepped closer, and this time, his voice dropped to a whisper. And now, you will always be here.
Vanity is harmless, until it isn't. What would you give to be beautiful forever? What would you take? Laura was a reclusive makeup artist, known for strange creations no one had ever seen on her face. One day, at a flea market far outside the city, she found an antique vanity set. Mirror, comb, brush, and a skin-colored leather box. The seller warned, "It doesn't show your reflection, only your desire." Laura, obsessed with beauty she believed she didn't have, bought anyway. That night, she sat before the mirror, but it didn't show her, just a blurry, flawless version of herself. Pale skin, full lips, bone structure like a porcelain. In the box, she found a needle and black thread, and a folded piece of paper that read, "So what you want into who you are." Beneath the paper was a piece of dried, cracked skin. She laughed it off, until the next morning, her skin started peeling in sheets, revealing smooth, unfamiliar flesh underneath. Her cheekbones sharpened, her lips swelled. Terrified, but fascinated, she kept going. Each night, she'd use the black thread to stitch loose skin tighter. Some nights, she found extra skin waiting inside the box. She never put it there. Her voice deepened, her smile stiffened, her fingers cracked from constant stitching. Her friends stopped calling. She never left the house. One night, her reflection looked back and blinked out of sync. Then it whispered, "You become someone else. Now, let them become you." The next morning, a neighbor entered after noticing the smell. Laura was gone. Only the mirror remained, in a pile of human skin stitched into a perfect mask, smiling gently on the vanity table. The police called it suicide, but the mirror was taken in as evidence. Weeks later, one of the officers began changing. His wife said, "You look younger, but something in your eyes isn't yours." The mirror has since gone missing, but every so often, online forums report a box made of flesh-colored leather, found at forgotten antique shops, and always accompanied by black thread.